Wasn't a great game for strikers all around, was it, with Chelsea playing without a recognised striker?
Hazard, yeah.
We asked this question the other night with City. That was after they'd been made to sweat a little by Watford near the end of that game. Without Aguero, is there still the element of that killer instinct perhaps being missed?
Yes, because Sterling's stats are very good compared to previous years, but he's not a natural goal scorer. Neither's Leroy Sané. Riyad Mahrez will pitch in with the odd spectacular goal, but don't forget there's not the Kevin De Bruyne getting forward from midfield either, and he's pitching in with his goal. So you're missing De Bruyne, you're missing Aguero, you're missing Mendy from left back getting forward. You've got Fabian Delph there, and I think it just showed a little bit. It did, for all the domination, they didn't quite have that killer instinct. And listen, that's why these guys get the big bucks, Ed. They get the big bucks, the strikers in the big games, to put it in the back of the net. That's why Chelsea will be searching for a striker in January as well. And
City, for the steamroller they've been, the absolute domination of the Premier League they've had for the first few months, after they conceded that first goal, they looked strangely vulnerable and uncertain, didn't they?
They looked as if the goal at half-time spiked them.
Yeah.
They did. I was expecting a reaction, and if anything, Chelsea got stronger in the second half compared to how they'd played in the first 45 minutes. So we didn't get that reaction from City. Watching the game, I really never felt that City were going to score. And I really said that watching this City team. Whenever they got in the final third, I thought Chelsea defended it pretty well, and I just never felt City were going to score the day. It's great for the league. If you're a neutral and it keeps it open, it's great for the chase. Well, there's not a chasing pack. I know we're talking about Chelsea getting closer. I know we're going to talk about Tottenham, but it is all about. It's going to be about two teams.
Afternoon. Sparkling. Yeah. Oh, too much.
Too much sparkling. Okay.
You started in the first half without much of the ball, but your team really came into the game. Was that how you saw the game?
We had Eden for the first time in that position, and I think that in the first 20-25 minutes we didn't work very well in the defensive movement in the opponent half. Fortunately, we defended very well in our half. Then we started to press a little bit better, and after the first goal, the match changed, I think. We played very well in the last minutes of the first half, and very, very well in the first 20 minutes of the second half. And I think that at the end, we deserve to win. We are really very happy with the win, because you know very well that it's not really very easy to win against Manchester City in this moment. For me, it's not very easy to win against Guardiola, as you know. And I am really very happy, but we need now to find this kind of motivations, and we need to play with this level of determination, with the right aggressivity, also in the other matches. Otherwise it's useless to win a match like this.
Was that a light playing in that?
As I said before, he had some problems at the beginning of the match, but I think that he played really a very great second half. Maybe he deserved to score today. I think that he's a very good option, and he will play like today in the future for some matches, of course.
So we would see Are you saying that in the first half it wasn't necessarily your intention to be a bit more defensive, a bit less attacking than normal? It seemed a different Maurizio Sarri team today in the first half.
Una squadra diversa dal solito Maurizio nel primo tempo.
No, yes, of course, because we were in trouble to put pressure to their defenders in the opponent half. We were in trouble, and so we had to defend in our half, but it wasn't a choice.
Wasn't the plan?
No, we know very well, of course. We knew very well that the ball possessions usual for us today was a problem. And so we knew very well that maybe there were more spaces for counterattacks, but it wasn't a total choice to wait the opponents in our half.
Maurizio, your deployment of Kante as a modern
Kante più come attaccante era stata molto positiva. È stato un esempio di quello che riesce a fare in quella posizione.
No, I think that today Kante scored by chance, I think, because today played very close to Jorginho, more than in the other matches. I think that he defended very well. Some counter-attacks good, and then he was in the box in the first goal, but I think that today he played in the right position, very close to Jorginho, very well.
Maurizio, several occasions the last few weeks you've brought down Chelsea's prospects of being able to compete.
Hai detto che non ce l'ha presa, diciamo,
Do you still say that?
chiudere il divario, quindi rimane di questa la stessa opinione?
Of course, yes, because as I said, always, as you know, I think that the gap is impossible to cover this kind of gap only in one season. One match, you can play one match, of course, but then in a competition of 10 months, it's very difficult to cover the gap. I think that they are at the moment the best team in Europe. We won today, but we have to say that we were a bit lucky in the first 25 minutes because they could score. So a little bit lucky in the first half and a very good second half. I think that we have a team with some difficulties to be motivated. And in this kind of match it's very easy to have very great motivations, a very good level of determination, the right level of aggressivity. But then during the season you have to play also with a small team. And for example, the next match we have to go in Brighton. And in Brighton there will be 3 points on the pitch, like today. And so we need continuity in motivations, we need continuity in determinations. Otherwise we can win this kind of match and then we can lose point in other match.
Okay, hang on, so we're going to do last two, so we're going to do there and then Rob to finish, okay?
Has been the reason not to have Alvaro Morata in the squad?
È stata una ragione per non avere Morata nella
Oh,
squadra.
the reason was clear. We played with Hazard as a striker, and so if we have to change something, there was Giroud. I think that it was useless to have two strikers on the bench, and I preferred to have more midfielders, because today I was in trouble with the wingers, and so the only option was Loftus.
Okay.
So I preferred this.
Last one, Rob.
Mauricio, what represents for you this victory over Guardiola?
Vittoria su Pep.
No, I am really very happy, but not for Pep. I am really very happy with the win, because it's really very difficult to win against Guardiola's team. Only for this, but I know very well that they are a step ahead now. They are in another step. I think we have to work to cover the gap, and we are not sure to be able to cover the gap, but we have to try, of course. But I am really very happy.
Okay, Rob, last one.
Yeah, just on David Luiz today. He looked like he was finished at Chelsea this time last year, but performance like this, counter-attack, defence. What is best?
Oh, I have to, yes, I think so, but I have to say that I am really very happy with him from the beginning. Of course, there are matches like this one, in which is easier to stay on the defensive line, because the defensive movements are working very well, and there are matches in which it's really very difficult to stay on the defensive line, like Tottenham, because the defensive phase of the team is a disaster. And so I think that today he played really a very good match, but I think that all the team help him to play very well.
Okay, thank you guys. We'll leave it there. Okay, Monday's over here on the right. Stand here, Michelle. Do Mondays, and then you're done. Yeah.
No idea. I don't think so.
So the sort of result, the sort of performance that perhaps used to be commonplace, Jose Mourinho was saying when there is solidarity in the team, everyone giving their maximum, you attract more positive things. Again, he can't help it, can he? I mean, just having a little dig, perhaps, at those that weren't involved today.
Well, he was having a dig at Pogba, who was on the bench against, can you imagine, on the bench against the bottom club in the Premier League, and you don't get on, and the team get 4 goals. So the fans, at least on this day, go away with something to cling on to, rather than seeing something drab. And the star man, apart from the other star man, supposedly Alexis Sanchez, is nowhere to be seen. Probably down checking his ATM to see how much money's in there. And Pogba's on the bench. So Mourinho's clearly digging him out. And look, there is a problem there. And both have been to blame. I've said that all along. And Pogba hasn't done himself any favours whatsoever with his, to my mind, attitude and his performances. I mean, there's been the odd good one, but there's been nowhere near enough. So they've both been at it. And that keeps the wolf from the door for another maybe a week or so, or a couple of weeks or a month in terms of getting this result.
How much of an asterisk gets attached to this, Craig, given that it was against Fulham? Because United haven't put these teams away, have they, in this sort of style?
They haven't, but Fulham have been the whipping boys. I mean, they got the initial jolt of the new manager when they beat Southampton recently, but you check back over almost, I think there's one other draw, and then there's just a sequence of defeat after defeat after defeat, including a thumping by Cardiff, who took 4 goals off them. So, you know, we didn't eulogise about Chelsea last week when they beat them at Stamford Bridge by 2-0. We're not really eulogising about any team that beats Fulham. So whilst you beat what's in front of you and you get the job done, there's no papering over the cracks that United are all of a sudden going to be back and put a run together, because Fulham are just shipping goals and they've not adapted to being able to handle the Premier League in terms of a defensive structure. So a good result, but not changing anything for Mourinho or Manchester United, really.
Yeah, Mata, Lingard, 1 touch, 2 touches, good decisions, fast decisions. The team was a good combination of qualities. The captain was big, not just for an amazing goal, but for the spirit that he he brought to the team too. The team was clearly there to win, and was clearly there to give everything. And when you give everything, nobody can point a finger at you. And even if the opponent is better than you and beat you, that's football. That's the nature of competition. But what I really want is not one single United fan point the finger at us by saying we don't give everything. And today, also against Arsenal, with a result that we don't want, but is the kind of performances where, independent of the result, people respect the effort.
What does Paul Pogba have to do to get back into your team now?
He has to play with the same mentality as the team is playing. Paul can be a fantastic player. He has the potential to be a fantastic player. And against Valencia he's going to start, and against Valencia he's going to have a fantastic football game to play, and to show everybody how good he is.
So Gab, how impressed were you with Dortmund, who seem to find many different ways to win this year?
They've been so impressive. They find different ways to win. They've shown that they can win ugly when they need to. Interesting. Against Schalke, what does he do? He goes with, we've seen this before, Witsel and Delaney in midfield. Yeah. No frills, no messing about, and it gives them that platform. Right. The opener came on a set piece, but they were pretty much in control until that VAR assisted penalty. And then he beats you with pace and youth and freshness in the form of Jadon Sancho. So he has a tremendous balance going. And this was, never mind all the points between the two teams, this was very much a trap game, and they came through it.
It's still early, isn't it? Still early December, but it looks like they are going to take some catching, no matter what Bayern Munich do.
Yeah, and look, if you're Bayern, you wanted to get a couple consistent results and performances in there. They did that, as I mentioned, keeping the same lineup, and that had been one of the complaints, is a lot of the chopping and the changing and stuff. Nuremberg are not particularly good, and when you score an early goal, you're at home. You add a second off a rebound, all of a sudden things get really easy for you. But you do get the sense that maybe the bandwagon is sort of starting to roll a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't think Kovac is out of the woods yet at all.
Yeah. So things looking comfortable at the top in the Bundesliga so far, at least for Dortmund. Bayern Munich, though, are up, at least for now, to second. Borussia Mönchengladbach not in action until Sunday. They're at home to Stuttgart, and they all took advantage of Leipzig going down to defeat.
I actually think the U.S. got a really good draw. And that Group F, USA, Thailand, Chile, Sweden, of course they have Sweden. They have Sweden practically every World Cup. They've had them, I think, for the last now 5 and 6 of the last 8. And that is interesting in that, of course, the United States lost to Sweden in the quarterfinals at the Olympics. And so that is very top of mind. And I would even argue it's what changed the development of the U.S. national team and the composition of the U.S. national team, because after they lost to Sweden in the quarterfinals, the first time a U.S. team has ever gone out in a world championship before the medal rounds, they realized, Jill Ellis, the coach of the U.S. team, that, hey, we need more creative players that can deal with a compact, bunkered, organized defense, which is what Sweden brought in that quarterfinal, you may remember, from 2016 at the Olympics. And so this team, this U.S. team coming into the 2019 World Cup is very different because of that loss. So that's going to be an interesting matchup, and it will also be the last game of that group. So both teams, assuming they both beat Chile and Thailand, will be coming in with 6 points. And that sets up another interesting thing, because I think if you finish first out of Group F, you actually have a tougher road than if you finish second. That's for another day. But that will be interesting how they approach that last game against Sweden, the United States. As of other interesting groups from this draw, I think actually Group A and Group B, so France's group, the hosts, and Germany's group, the Olympic champions that came in, that won the Olympics in 2016, those are the 2 hardest groups. I think Group C and D are probably middle of the road, hard, but the 2 easiest actually I think are the U.S. group and Group F and Group E. And As for the U.S. chances of winning it all, I mean, for sure they're obviously going to get out of the group. And with the expanded field of 24 teams at this Women's World Cup, as they had in 15, it's not hard to get out of your group. 4 third-place teams actually get through into that round of 16. But it will be interesting how they finish in that group because, as I said, that dictates how hard their path is. Regardless, as we always say as players, you got to be the best, you got to beat the best. And so this U.S. team, if they are healthy, has a great chance of winning the World Cup. Scotland finds itself in a very good Group D. England sitting atop that group, also alongside them Argentina and Japan. Japan, of course, being the 2011 Women's World Cup champion and always a threat, a very technical team as we've seen over the years. Whether they can hang physically with Scotland and England will be interesting to watch. And Scotland in its very first Women's World Cup, which is exciting, of course, for the country. I think Alex Scott, English international, said it well at the draw. She said you couldn't have scripted this better to have Scotland sitting alongside England. And so I think Scotland actually has a very good chance of getting out of this group because with the expanded field of 24 teams, 16, so 4 third-place teams can actually get through of the 6 groups. And Scotland, with a healthy Kim Little, is an excellent team. We saw this fall in November how they gave the United States team some fits when the U.S. was playing over there in Scotland, and we've seen how well they've done as of late on the international stage. So this is a fun team and a great group, I think, that we can be watching.